Ladies, let me tell y'all something. Men are not as complicated as you think. We are simple, not simple-minded, just simple. And when it comes to love, we got one switch, one. And when that switch flips, it's real, it's deep. But most of y'all don't even see the moment it happens. Men fall in love when they feel emotionally safe. That right there is the heartbeat of male love, and most people miss it. See, we live in a world where men are expected to be strong all the time, providers, protectors, problem solvers. From the time we boys, we're told, man up, don't cry, handle it. So what happens? We grow up building walls, not homes. We learn how to perform strength, but not how to show our hearts. We learn how to work, how to hustle, how to survive, but we don't always learn how to feel. And that's why emotional safety is everything. Now, when a man meets a woman, sure, the looks might draw him in. That's biology, that's attraction, but that's not love. Love happens much later, after he's spent time around her, after he's had moments where he's been tested emotionally. That's when it starts to show, when she asks him how his day went and really wants to know, when she hears what he didn't say and checks in anyway, when she sees his silence, not as disinterest, but as a place he's trying to hide pain. That's emotional safety, and that's what makes a man slowly open the door to his heart. You gotta understand something. Most men don't even know they need emotional safety. They've gone their whole lives covering it up, replacing it with work, sports, distractions, even relationships that never ask too much of them. But when they meet a woman who makes them feel like they can finally let go of all the pretending, that's when it hits different. That's when the world quiets down and love starts whispering. It's not about whether you agree with him all the time. It's not about giving him his way. It's about giving him a space where he doesn't have to perform, where he doesn't have to be on all the time, where he can say, I'm tired, and not be met with disappointment, where he can say, I don't know what to do, and not be looked at like he's failed. That right there, that's what creates a bond so deep, he can't walk away from it. That's what makes a man say, this is the woman I can build my life with. I see we get used to being wanted for what we do, money, our muscles, our status, but rarely are we loved for who we are. Emotional safety says, I see your effort, but I also see you, your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, and I'm not going anywhere. That kind of love doesn't just happen. It's built little by little through trust, through patience, through moments where a man finally feels like he can breathe. Let me break this down even more. If a man is with a woman who always has a criticism ready, who laughs at his dreams, who shuts him down every time he opens up, that man will retreat. He might stay physically, but emotionally, he's long gone. You'll be having dinner with him, and he's in the room, but not in the moment. That's because he doesn't feel safe. On the flip side, when a woman says, you don't have to have it all figured out. I'm here. I see you. I got you. Something powerful happens. That man will start showing up in ways you've never seen. He'll become more present, more affectionate, more giving. Not because you asked for more, but because you created the space where he could be more. Emotional safety is the soil love grows in. Without it, a man won't risk opening up. He won't show you his real self. And if he can't show you that, he can't fall in love. Not fully, because falling in love requires falling. And no one falls unless they believe someone will catch them. That's what emotional safety does. It tells a man, you can fall here. I'm not going to let you hit the ground. And that feeling, that's rare, that's sacred, that's unforgettable. Most women have been told that men don't feel deeply. That's not true. We just don't show it the way y'all do. But believe me, when a man feels emotionally safe with a woman, he doesn't just fall in love. He anchors there. He roots himself in that space. He starts thinking long term. He starts dreaming with you in the picture. Because finally, he's found somewhere he can stop pretending. He's found a soft place to land. Vulnerability is the doorway to a man's heart. That's the truth people don't like to talk about because we live in a world where men are told to hide anything that looks like weakness. From a young age, boys are taught to toughen up. If you fall, get back up. If you're hurt, don't show it. If you're struggling, keep it to yourself. So by the time that boy becomes a man, he's been trained to treat vulnerability like it's a threat. And yet vulnerability is the very thing that unlocks his ability to love deeply. A man doesn't open up to just anybody. It's not that he's cold. It's not that he doesn't care. He just needs to know that if he opens that door and shows what's really behind it, you're not going to use it against him. He needs to feel that if he tells you about the time he failed, the time he got scared, the thing that still haunts him, you're not going to laugh, run, or look at him different. Because once he sees that you're a safe place for his truth, that's when love starts to form. Most women don't see when this moment happens. They're looking for flowers, texts, compliments, romantic gestures. And those things matter, no doubt. But a man shows his deepest affection when he opens up, when he lets you see the part of him that nobody else gets to see. That's his version of saying, I love you, even if the words haven't come out yet. The moment he tells you about his father who walked out, or the time he got fired and felt worthless, or how sometimes he feels like he's not enough. That's him standing in the doorway of love, hoping you'll walk in without judgment. A lot of men have been burned by opening up. Maybe he told the wrong woman too much and she used it as ammunition in an argument later. Maybe he shared a dream and got laughed at. Maybe he cried once and got told he was being too emotional. Those experiences don't just disappear, they build walls. So when you meet a man who seems guarded or distant, it's not always because he doesn't care. It's often because he's learned that vulnerability equals pain. But here's where the shift happens. When a woman listens with her heart, when she doesn't rush to fix him or silence his feelings, he starts to trust again, not just in her, but in himself. He starts to believe that maybe it's okay to feel, maybe it's okay to share. Maybe love isn't a trap, but a healing space. That belief doesn't come easy. It's earned. And once it's there, he'll begin to reveal himself piece by piece, not because you asked him to, but because he wants to. Vulnerability isn't about a man crying every day or spilling his soul on command. It's about him being honest. It's about him saying, I'm not okay today, instead of pretending. It's about him admitting that he needs support, that he's scared, that he's confused. And it's about you letting him feel those things without trying to fix it right away. Sometimes he doesn't need a solution. He needs someone to sit with him in that space just so he knows he's not alone. That kind of connection doesn't come from surface level attraction. That's not about being cute or having good chemistry. That's soul deep. That's emotional intimacy. And once that door of vulnerability is open, that's when a man starts to truly bond. That's when he starts seeing you not just as someone he enjoys, but as someone he can build with. Because if he can be his real self with you, flaws and all, that's more valuable than anything else in the world. There are moments in every relationship where the choice is simply, do I open up or do I shut down? Most men default to shutting down because it feels safer. But the right woman, the one who's present, who's patient, who's not scared of a little emotional weight, she'll help him choose differently. And when he does, when he takes that risk to be vulnerable and you handle it with care, that's when his heart starts to trust and eventually to love. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. And for a man, showing that side means you matter more than you know. Trust is built through non-judgmental support. It's not built on how long you've been together or how many dates you've been on. It's not built on vacations, gifts, or even promises. It's built in the moments where a man feels like he can bring his full self to the table and not be picked apart for it. See, most men are used to being judged at work, judged by other men, judged by society. So when he's with someone who doesn't try to correct, criticize, or fix him every time he opens up, that becomes a place he wants to return to. When a man talks about his flaws, when he admits mistakes, when he shares his fears, those are his test moments. He's watching to see what you do with that truth. Do you throw it back in his face later? Do you make him feel less of a man for admitting it? Or do you hold it with care, with understanding, with grace? Because that response decides everything. If a man feels judged, he shuts down. He might smile, nod, even keep the conversation going. But emotionally, he's already building a wall. On the other hand, if you offer non-judgmental support, something shifts inside him. He sees you as someone he can trust with more than just the surface. Trust isn't built when things are easy. It's built when things get hard. When he fails at something and you don't look at him different. When he says something raw and unpolished, and instead of reacting, you try to understand where it's coming from. When he feels safe, that's when he realizes, okay, she's not just here for the highlight reel. she can handle the behind the scenes too. And once a man feels that, he starts letting you into places he never lets anyone go. Support doesn't mean agreeing with everything he says. It doesn't mean co-signing bad choices or ignoring red flags. It means being there without making him feel small for struggling. It means saying, I hear you, before saying, here's what I think. Because most men don't need someone to solve the problem for them. They just need someone who believes they're capable of solving it themselves and who's willing to stand by them while they figure it out. A lot of men grow up with the pressure to always be strong, always be sure, always have the answers. So when they're in a relationship and they don't know what to do, it's a vulnerable place. If they speak up and get met with sarcasm or shame, they retreat. They start showing less and less of what's real. But when they get support that says, you're human and it's okay to be unsure, they step into that discomfort instead of away from it. They start building emotional courage. And that courage deepens the trust between you. Men don't always communicate the way women do. They don't always say, I'm hurting, or I need help. Sometimes it shows up as frustration, distance, or silence. And if you respond to that with accusations or impatience, you're not helping the situation. But if you lean in gently and say, what's really going on? Or talk to me when you're ready, I'm not going anywhere. You create a bridge. You create room for honesty. That's how trust grows. Not in the big dramatic gestures, but in the quiet, consistent presence that says, you're not alone. Being non-judgmental doesn't mean you don't have standards. It means you offer space for someone to grow without constantly being reminded of where they fall short. And for men, that's powerful because we live in a world where they're constantly being told what they're not. Not enough money, not enough status, not emotionally intelligent enough, not romantic enough. So when a man finds someone who sees where he is and still believes in where he's going, that's rare. That's magnetic. That's the kind of support that builds trust brick by brick. Some women think supporting a man means losing themselves or lowering their own needs. That's not support. That's self-abandonment. True support is mutual. It's standing strong in your own values while giving space for someone else to stand in theirs. It's knowing when to speak and when to just sit beside him in silence. It's knowing when to push and when to pause. And it's choosing every day to respond with empathy instead of ego. Trust grows in the soil of acceptance. It blooms when a man feels seen and still valued. And once that trust is there, it's not just emotional safety. It becomes the foundation of love, commitment, and loyalty. Because once a man knows he can trust you with his truth, he'll trust you with his future. Love begins in the quiet, unspoken moments. Not in the fireworks, not in the big declarations, not even in the grand gestures that get posted on social media. Love starts in the spaces in between, in the pauses where no one is trying to impress anyone, where nobody's performing, where the world gets a little slower and two people just sit in the same space, breathing the same air, feeling the same thing without having to say a word. Those are the moments most people overlook, but they're the ones where love actually takes root. When a man is falling in love, he doesn't always announce it. He doesn't always know the exact moment it starts. But it's usually not during a candlelit dinner or a passionate kiss. It's when he's sitting on the couch with you, not talking, just comfortable. It's when you're in the kitchen dancing to some old school song, no cameras, no audience, just the two of you being silly together. It's in the way you look at him when he's not trying to be looked at. In the way you hand him a cup of coffee in the morning without a word, like you already knew what he needed before he asked. That's where love begins. These moments are small, but they matter more than people realize. They don't scream for attention, but they speak volumes. They're the moments where two people start building something that lasts without even realizing they're doing it. Because real connection doesn't require constant conversation. It just needs presence. It needs two people who are willing to be themselves fully without the pressure to entertain or explain. And when a man starts feeling that kind of peace with a woman, it changes everything. He doesn't just like her. He starts imagining life with her. Sometimes love begins when you're just sitting in the car, not talking, just watching the world go by together. Or when he's had a long day and you don't ask him for anything, you just rest your hand on his back while he lets the day fade off his shoulders. That's when he realizes you're not just someone who wants something from him. You're someone who brings him peace. And peace is rare for most men. So when he finds it, he doesn't forget it. Men aren't always vocal about their emotions. A lot of them were never taught how to put their feelings into words. But that doesn't mean they're not feeling deeply. It just means they show it differently. He might not say, "I love you," every day, but he notices how you treat him when no one's watching. He pays attention to how you respond when things are boring, when there's nothing going on, when life is just life. If you can still connect in those moments, if you can still laugh, still sit in silence without feeling the need to fill it with noise, that's when he starts to fall. The world teaches us to chase excitement, to think that love is about butterflies and adrenaline. But real love, it shows up in the quiet, in the routines, in the everyday. It shows up when he's brushing his teeth and you walk past and he smiles without even thinking. When he hears your voice from another room and something in him relaxes. That's not infatuation. That's love slowly settling in without making a entrance, without demanding attention, just steady, just real. When a man sees that you're still there for him in between, when the date nights are over, when the energy is low, when nothing special is happening, he starts to feel something deeper. He realizes you're not just there for the high moments, but for all of it, for the ordinary. And if you can love someone in the ordinary, that love becomes extraordinary because life is mostly made up of small moments, of mornings and errands and quiet nights. And if those moments are filled with warmth and understanding, then the foundation of that relationship becomes unshakable. These quiet moments don't come with applause. There's no spotlight, but they are sacred. They are the moments where he starts to look at you differently, where he sees the kind of woman who brings calm to his chaos, the kind of woman who doesn't need a performance, just presence. And when he starts feeling that he doesn't have to question what it is, he may not be able to describe it, but he knows it when he feels it. Love doesn't always knock on the door loud. Sometimes it just sits next to you on a quiet afternoon, and everything in the room feels right without a single word spoken. Shin starts things. Emotional connection keeps it. That's the balance most people forget when they're trying to understand how love actually works. When a man first sees a woman, it's the surface that catches his attention. It's the smile, the way she walks, the way she carries herself. That's the spark. That's what makes him want to know more. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's human, but that spark, no matter how bright, can only burn for so long if there's nothing deeper to fuel it. Attraction can open the door, but it's connection that keeps him walking through it day after day. A lot of people confuse initial chemistry with long-term compatibility. They think if the physical connection is strong, the relationship will be too. But over time, the newness fades, the excitement slows down, the body changes, life gets busy. And when that happens, what keeps a man in love isn't how you look. It's how you make him feel. It's how seen, heard, and safe he feels around you. It's the bond you build that goes beyond skin deep. That's what he comes home to. That's what makes him stay. You could be the most beautiful woman in the room, and he might notice you first. But if the energy doesn't match, if the emotional connection isn't there, that interest starts to fade. Not because he doesn't appreciate beauty, but because beauty alone doesn't fulfill him. A man can admire you, desire you, you even be fascinated by you, but none of that compares to what he feels when he can be fully himself with you. That emotional connection becomes the anchor. It's what makes him turn down the noise of the world just to sit with you in silence and feel at peace. Men may not always express it with words, but they crave connection just like anyone else. Once he realizes that you see more than his exterior, that you notice when he's quiet, that you pick up on his moods, that you care about his thoughts and not just his actions, that's when things start to shift. He starts to feel emotionally fed. And when a man is emotionally fed, he stops looking elsewhere to feel validated. He stops chasing the temporary highs because he's found something real, something grounded. You can't build a lasting relationship on physical attraction alone. You can't build it on sex or attention or compliments. Those things are beautiful, but they're just the wrapping. What's inside, the emotional bond, the shared values, the way you support each other, that's the gift. That's the substance. And that's what men hold on to long after the early butterflies are gone. It's the conversations at midnight, the inside jokes, the way you make him laugh when he's had a hard day. It's your loyalty, your presence, your patience. That's what sticks in his heart. When a man feels emotionally connected to a woman, he invests differently. He listens more. He gives more. He starts planning around you, not just with you. He sees your body, yes, but he starts craving your energy. He wants your voice in his head when he's trying to make a big decision. He wants your presence next to him when the world feels heavy. And that kind of bond doesn't come from how well you fit into a dress. It comes from how well your soul fits with his. That emotional connection grows in the way you talk to him when you're angry. It grows in the way you support him when he's uncertain. It grows in the way you show up, even when there's nothing exciting going on. That's the glue. And once it's there, the physical attraction doesn't go away. It actually deepens. Because now it's not just desire. It's admiration. It's appreciation. It's wanting someone not just for how they look, but for who they are and how they make you feel when everything else around you feels chaotic. Some relationships start hot and burn out fast because they were built only on chemistry. But the ones that last are built on connection. They grow stronger over time. The attraction might bring him to you, but the connection keeps him committed. It keeps him choosing you even on the days when life feels routine. Because when a man is emotionally connected to a woman, he doesn't just want her body. He wants her thoughts, her time, her trust, her partnership. And once he's found all of that in one person, he knows he's found something rare, something he won't trade for surface level attention or temporary thrill, or something worth protecting, growing, and holding on to. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. It's easy to show up big once in a while. Anybody can plan a surprise trip, write a long message, or do something dramatic to impress someone. But none of that means much if it's followed by days or weeks of distance, silence, or confusion. What really matters, especially to a man who's thinking about giving his heart to someone, is how consistently that person shows up. Not just when it's easy, not just when they feel like it, but regularly, reliably, steadily. Men watch for patterns. They pay attention to how someone behaves over time, not just in the beginning, when everything's fresh and exciting, but after the newness wears off. That's when he starts to notice who you really are and how you move through life. If you're warm one day and cold the next, if you love him 1 minute and question him the next, that sends a message that he can't trust the emotional climate. And when a man doesn't feel secure in the rhythm of your presence, he holds back. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean always saying the right thing or never having a bad day. It means showing up with the same core energy, the same intention, the same heart. Even when things aren't ideal, it means being dependable in your emotions and actions. And for a man who's serious about building something real, that kind of energy is magnetic. He's not looking for someone who's perfect. He's looking for someone who's real and reliable, someone whose love isn't based on mood swings or momentary highs. Inconsistency creates doubt. One moment he feels like he's the center of your world, and the next he's wondering if you even care. That kind of emotional roller coaster might feel dramatic or passionate, but it wears a man down. He starts questioning whether he's safe emotionally, whether he can open up without being met with confusion or withdrawal. That's why consistency matters so much. It allows him to relax into the relationship. It lets him breathe. It gives him the confidence to bring his full self to the table. Most men aren't asking for constant validation. What they want is emotional stability. They want to know that who you, when you met, is who you'll continue to be when things get real. If you were supportive, kind, and emotionally available in the beginning, but become distant, sarcastic, or critical later, that inconsistency makes them question everything. And when a man starts questioning the foundation, the connection starts to crack. Most men aren't asking for constant validation. What they want is emotional stability. They want to know that who you were when you met is who you'll continue to be when things get real. If you were supportive, kind, and emotionally available in the beginning, but become distant, sarcastic, or critical later, that inconsistency makes them question everything. And when a man starts questioning the foundation, the connection starts to crack. On the other hand, when a woman consistently shows that she's present, engaged, and rooted, that builds trust, not just romantic trust, but deep human trust. The kind that says, I can count on you to be the same person, whether it's Tuesday morning or Saturday night. That kind of stability is what men build love on. Because if he knows you're consistent, he doesn't have to second guess every message, every tone, every look. he knows where he stands. And when a man knows where he stands, he's more likely to stand beside you through anything. Sometimes people confuse excitement with inconsistency. They think if things aren't full of ups and downs, it must not be passionate. But the truth is, emotional cost doesn't equal love. Real passion comes from depth, not drama. It comes from being able to trust someone so much that you can be fully yourself with them. No filter, no performance. And that kind of freedom only grows in the soil of consistency, because only when he knows you're emotionally steady can he let go of his own walls. Consistency also shows up in the little things, in the way you greet him, in the way you handle conflict, in the way you check in, follow through, and keep your word. It's the small gestures repeated over time that create a rhythm, and that rhythm becomes the heartbeat of the relationship. When that rhythm is steady, he starts to lean in. He starts to rely on it. And when he can rely on you emotionally, his love starts to deepen in a way that intensity alone could never create. People chase moments, but what keeps a man in love is the pattern. He doesn't need fireworks every day. He needs peace. He needs presence. He needs to know that the energy you bring is not just a show, but a reflection of who you are at your core. That no matter what life throws your way, your heart stays aligned with him, not just during the highs, but also in the mundane, the boring, the tough, the quiet. That kind of love isn't loud. It's loyal. It doesn't spike and crash. It stays. A man falls in love when he feels emotionally safe, but he stays in love when he feels respected. Respect isn't just about saying the right things or avoiding the wrong words. It's about how you carry yourself in the relationship. It's in the tone you use, in the way you speak to him when you're upset, and how you talk about him when he's not around. For men, respect is tied directly to how they interpret love. You can tell a man you love him all day long, but if your actions make him feel disrespected, that love won't land the way you think it will. Respect to a man is like water to a plant. He needs it to grow, to open up, to fully invest self. It's not about ego, it's about dignity. It's about knowing that the woman he's chosen sees him, values him, and doesn't try to tear him down when things get hard. A lot of men walk around with invisible scars from being spoken to like they didn't matter, like their efforts weren't enough, like their opinions didn't carry weight. And when they find someone who speaks to them with honor, who listens without belittling, who holds them accountable without trying to control, that's the kind of woman they fall deeper for every single day. Respect isn't about always agreeing. It's about how you handle the disagreements. Do you attack his character, or do you stick to the issue? Do you try to win the argument, or do you protect the relationship while working through the conflict? Because a man pays attention to that. He notices whether you fight fair. He watches how you talk to him when you're angry. If your love turns into disrespect every time there's tension, that creates emotional distance. It tells him that your respect is conditional, and that's something he won't feel safe building a future on. For men, respect also shows up in how you handle their dreams. When a man opens up about something he wants to do, even if it seems big, risky, or unrealistic, he's sharing a piece of his vision. If you dismiss it, roll your eyes, or talk down to him, that cuts deep, because men tie their identity to their purpose. If you respect him, you don't have to understand every detail of his dream, but you believe in his ability to chase it. You speak life into it. You stand beside him, not behind or in front, but beside him, like a teammate, not a critic. Respect is also in how you treat his time, his effort, and his presence. If he shows up for you and it's met with indifference, that registers. If he does something thoughtful and it gets brushed off, that registers too. A man doesn't need constant applause, but he needs to know that his contributions are acknowledged, that his efforts don't go unnoticed. When he feels like what he gives matters, he gives more. But when he feels like he's being taken for granted, he starts to pull back, not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. And let's not forget public respect. What you say about him in front of other people matters. How you speak to him around friends, family, or even strangers makes an impression. If you make him the butt of every joke, if you air out your private problems in public just to get a laugh or prove a point, that chips away at the trust. Men might not say much in the moment, but they remember. They remember who uplifted them in a room and who embarrassed them in a crowd. Public respect builds private love. And when a man sees that you've got his back in every setting, that loyalty deepens his attachment to you. Respect doesn't mean coddling or turning a blind eye to his flaws. It means calling him higher without tearing him down. It's saying, I believe in the man you are, and I'll speak to that man even when you're struggling to show up like him. That kind of faith does something to a man. It challenges him to rise without making him feel like he's failing. It inspires growth without using shame as the motivator. And that right there is the kind of love that doesn't just feel good. It changes people. Every man wants to feel like his woman is proud of him, not just for his achievements, but for who he is. When he feels that kind of respect, it unlocks parts of him he usually keeps guarded. It softens him. It strengthens him. It connects him. Because when a man is respected, he doesn't just love harder. He loves with more intention, with more depth, with more consistency.